All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
Awesome. Okay. So, as Barrett mentioned, I'm going to be kind of running through some basics of Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is Adobe's video editing tool, the primary nonlinear editing tool that Adobe offers. If you've never used Adobe Premiere Pro before, um, when you open up the project for the first time, if you click the application, it will bring up kind of this welcome screen. If you've used Adobe Premiere before, it will show some of the previous projects that you've worked on. So if you needed to jump back into an older project, it will have some of those listed here, the most recent ones. If you've never used Adobe Premiere Pro before, you might not see anything here, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to go up here to New Project, and we're going to start ourselves a brand new Premiere project. If you click that, it's going to open this Create Project window. And the first thing we're going to want to do up here in the top left corner, you'll see project name. And we're going to go ahead and give our project a name. So for today, we'll go ahead and name ours Adobe Day Training or something related to that. The next thing you'll see to the side of it is project location. So you're going to want to select an area on your computer where this project is going to live. It's good to stay organized to kind of know where your Premiere projects live across your computer. So it's always nice to kind of stay organized that way. So we're going to choose a location for our project. And for myself, I've made an Adobe Day folder here, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose that. And what Adobe does, which is really cool, is that it provides some sample media here. So if you don't have any video footage of your own and you want to go into Premiere and kind of start messing around and learning the program, but you don't really have any video footage to start with, Premiere has actually provided some sample footage here that you can bring into a project and kind of start editing right away with kind of the sample media that it offers. We're going to kind of skip past the sample media, so we're not going to bring any of that in, but we're just going to go down here to the bottom right-hand side of the screen, and we're going to hit Create. And when we've done that, what you'll kind of see at that point is a completely blank Adobe Premiere project. So not a whole lot going on in here. You're just going to kind of see a lot of emptiness. But what we have now is kind of the canvas, a blank canvas for us to start editing our very first video. And what we need to do now is bring in the assets that we're going to use to create our video. So that might include some music, some video footage, some graphics, sound effects, all of kind of the ingredients that we use to make a video, we can start to assemble and bring into our project. And the great thing about Adobe is Adobe offers really several ways to do anything you want to do. There's usually two or three different ways that you can do it. So some people will have a preference on one way or another. I'm going to kind of show you a couple of different ways that you can bring these assets into your project. So the first way to do something to import footage into your project is to just drag it into your project. So if you have something on your computer that you want to bring in, like a video file or a piece of music that you want to bring into your Premiere project, you can simply uh, just drag it in. You can find it on your computer and just pull it directly down into your Premiere project. And you'll see I just dragged in a video clip here, and it is now in my Premiere project. So that's one way to do it. You can just kind of click and drag things into your Premiere project from your computer. Or if you right click down in here, you'll see it brings up kind of these options. There's an import option here, so you can do it that way. You can right click and go to import and basically search for that same folder that I was just in and can find some of these other clips. And let's bring in one here, and you can import it that way. So now we've brought in two pieces of footage, basically two different ways. And there's even a third way that Premiere offers. If you look here, there's Media Browser. If you click over to the Media Browser tab, the Media Browser basically shows you all of the folders on your computer, and you can go into any of the folders that are on your machine and search for video footage that way. And if you find something you want to bring into your Premiere project through the media browser, you can right click on it and it'll bring up an import option there as well. So if I do it that way, boom, now I have brought in basically three different pieces of footage into Adobe Premiere, and I've done it three different ways essentially, which is cool because Premiere offers, a lot of customization with how you want to do things. There's not really one way to do anything in Adobe products. You can do them several different ways, which is kind of great because not everybody wants to edit the same way. Not everybody wants to operate the same way. I mean, it kind of gives you the flexibility to do things several different ways in Premiere, which I kind of appreciate. So we've started to bring in some of these assets. We've got three video clips. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring in the rest of the stuff that I was going to use for today's demonstration. We've got some other student footage. Select a few of these things. We've got an Alabama Script A logo. We've got a piece of music. And I'm going to just drag those in to my project. All right. So I have now brought in a bunch of these assets. We've got graphics, we've got music, and we've got video footage. And we're going to use these ingredients and these pieces to basically assemble our video. But before we get to that point, my recommendation as you start to bring in things into your Adobe Premiere project is you want to keep them organized because the more you start to bring in, the more clogged up and the more, if you've got 50 video clips or 60 video clips or 100 video clips, however many video clips you bring into your project, it's going to start to get really messy down here. You're not going to know what's what. So what Premiere offers you is the ability to sort of organize the assets that you've brought into your Premiere project. And the way that you do that is by creating bins. So down here in the bottom right corner of this lower left window, you'll see an option for a new bin. And you can click that and it'll basically make a little folder icon here. And you can rename the bin to whatever you want it to be. But for our purposes, we're going to call this one video clips. And so everything that is a video clip, we're going to move into that bin. We'll make another bin. We'll call it music. So any pieces of music that we bring in or sound effects, we'll move to that music folder. And then we'll make another one for graphics. And we'll pull our Alabama Script A graphic. We'll pull that into our graphics folder. So now we have taken what looked a little bit messy down here as we started to bring in more and more things, and we have organized it nice and neatly into these subcategories where I have my video clips, I have my music, and I have my graphics. And, as like I said, as you start to bring in a lot of footage, if you're bringing in a whole bunch of different things, different types of media, you really want to make sure you keep your project as organized as possible. I know in the environment that I work in, I'm on a team of 6 different people that are all video editing, and there might be a time where somebody has to come into one of my projects to work on something or get something out of one of the projects I'm working on. And the last thing I want to do is have somebody else open up my project and it be absolutely the messiest thing you've ever seen with stuff all over the place. So it's just for me, a nice way to keep things organized. If somebody were to open my project, they wouldn't get a heart attack because there's a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. So using bins is a nice, easy way to keep things nice and neat within your project. So now that we've got stuff into our project, what we want to do next is create a sequence. And the way that you can kind of think of a sequence is the sequence is where the actual editing is happening. It's like the assembly line or the canvas with which you're creating your video. So to make a new sequence, you can go up here to File at the top, New Sequence, and select New Sequence. And it will bring up this new sequence window. And There are some sequence presets that Adobe has already kind of preloaded in here. So typically, I would recommend picking from one of these, depending on what type of video you're editing. If you're a little bit more of an advanced editor and you kind of know what settings your video needs to be in terms of resolution and frame rate and those kind of things, you can click over to settings and do a custom setup with exactly the size video you need and all of the things, kind of customized to what you need them to be. But for a more beginner editor, these sequence presets are going to get you pretty close to what you need. So if you look, there's a broadcast folder. So if you're making something for traditional broadcast television, you can select from any of these, and these will be set up for like a broadcast television environment. There's HD video, so a lot of things nowadays are shot in high definition. So if you have shot your footage or using footage that is in high definition, you want to edit as a high definition sequence as well. So you can click between any of these high definition settings. A very popular one nowadays with so much social media content, there's actually a social folder of presets here. So if you click into that one, you'll see there's a 4x5, the 9x16, which is the vertical that you use for Instagram stories, is a 9x16. And then there's a social media square. So if you've ever made video for Twitter specifically or an Instagram post, not a story, typically those are 1x1. So you can choose any of these if you're making something specific for a social media platform. You can click between several of those to make your sequence set up specifically for those platforms. For our purposes today, we're going to use one of these HD 1080 ones. We'll take the top one here and you can name it. Again, it's just a way to keep things organized. If you start to assemble multiple sequences in your project, you want to make sure you've got them labeled how you want. So for our purposes, we're going to call this one Adobe Day Demo. And if you hit OK, you'll see now that this bottom window has changed. Once we've made a sequence, you will see that there are 3 video layers that automatically have shown up. So video 1, video 2, video 3. And then there are 4 audio layers underneath it. Audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, and audio 4. So now that we've got our sequence here, we can start bringing footage over to our sequence and begin editing down here in this lower right corner. Now, to get footage to the timeline, again, there's several different ways that you can do it. So almost like how we brought footage into Premiere, there's 2 or 3 different ways you can get things to your sequence. For our purposes, you can just find it over here and drag it directly in to your timeline. So I've just found what I wanted over here on the left, and I've just dragged it directly across onto my sequence. And there you can see it is a shot of Dr. Bell from our spring campus assembly a couple weeks ago. And he's giving a great soundbite about University of Alabama students.
We will lead the future for our state. We will lead the future for the nation. And folks, it is not words. These young people that we have at our campus today are the best in the world.
All right, so we've got this awesome Dr. Bell soundbite, and all we've done is basically pulled it from our folder over here directly into our sequence. But you can also be a little bit more precise and bring things from the source window up here in the top left into your sequence. And what that's going to allow you to do is to select a part of the clip instead of the whole thing. So when I pulled this Dr. Bell soundbite across, it pulls the entire soundbite. It doesn't give you any options to select just a part of it. But if you have something like a 10-minute long interview that you're looking at, or a drone shot that's 2 or 3 minutes long, you may not want to bring in all 10 minutes of that interview or all 3 minutes of that drone shot. So what you can do instead is if you double click one of your assets down here, it will bring it up in this preview window. So I'm going to take, there's one labeled Plaza Drone here. I'm going to double click that. And what it's done is it's opened it in this preview window. And you can use the slider down here at the bottom and scrub through the clip to see what it is. And this is kind of a long drone shot of the promenade over by the Student Center. And I know I don't want to use the whole thing. It's 22 seconds. It's really long. We only want like the very best part of this clip. So as I scrub through, I kind of like when it flies between these two trees right here. And what you can do is select just the part of the clip that you really like and then bring that down into your sequence. So I really like the part where it flies through the trees right here. So I kind of want to just select that part. And what you can do is use your I key to set an endpoint. So you'll see as I move around on the little slider here, if I'm hitting the I key, it'll set an endpoint. And where I want it to stop, I can use the O key. So I and O are your in and your out points in Premiere. So you can set the O key where you want it to stop. Boom. And now it's highlighted just this section that I really like, where the drone flies between the trees here and then over the start of the promenade. And I don't want any of the rest of it. I just really want like these 5 or 6 seconds out of this clip that I think are the best part. And to get them into your sequence now, you can drag. There's a option here that says drag video only. Or if you just wanted to drag the audio from a clip, you don't want the video, you just want the audio. If it's a soundbite or something you're looking for, you can drag just the audio only. This drone shot does not have any audio, so we're going to do the drag video only option, and you can just pull that down into your timeline. And now it's only brought in that selection that we made, the really good part of the clip that we like, where the drone flies between the trees and down the start of the promenade. And over here, one thing I will also point out as well, in your project panel, there's some options to change the way that these are viewed. So there's I'm on the list view right now. You can switch to the icon view. If you switch to icon view and click into one of these folders, it actually gives you the option to scrub through, and you can kind of look at what the footage is even down here to give you an idea of what all you have to work with. Even in this project panel, you can kind of hover scrub and see what the clips look like before you even start editing with them. So you have an idea of kind of what you're working with. So I'm going to quickly just pull in a couple of these things. We've got a shot of the University of Alabama sign. And again, I'm double clicking to bring them up here in the preview window. I am setting an in point and an out point using the I and the O keys. And then I'm just dragging them down into my timeline, the pieces of the clip that I think are the best parts. You've got a student here, looks like she's using some sort of a sketch pad. We'll select parts of that. Got a student here typing on a laptop outside. We'll grab a part of the clip that we really like. We'll bring it down. Got some students here, look like they're part of some sort of outdoor classroom, or they're outside just hanging out. We'll bring that down. And then we have this shot, a great plug for Stratcom. I got to put it in here. The Where Legends Are Made banners. We got a cool shot of the Where Legends Are Made banners outside, and we'll bring those down as well. So now we've got this Dr. Bell soundbite, but we want to put some video over Dr. Bell's soundbite to kind of spice this up a little bit. So the way that the video tracks work is that whatever you put on top is going to be the most visible. So the layering that happens, I tend to think of it like layering clothing. Whatever is the outermost layer of clothing that you have is what people are going to see. So if Dr. Bell's soundbite here and him at the podium is kind of our base layer, we start to put stuff over top of that. So I dragged that video clip over top of Dr. Bell's soundbite. Now, what you're going to see is whatever is on top. So I don't see Dr. Bell at the podium anymore. I see our drone shot.
The future for our state.
And if I put something on top of that, now I'm going to see that, whatever I just put on top,
future
instead of the drone shot or instead of Dr. Bell. So the way your video tracks work is whatever as you start to build things on top of other things, whatever is at the very top is going to be the most visible. So kind of like a layer of clothing. If I have a t-shirt on, and then I put on a sweater, and then I put on a jacket, whatever is the outermost layer. So people are going to see the jacket. They're not going to be able to see the t-shirt or the sweater anymore. They're just going to see whatever's the outermost thing. So let's put in a couple of these video clips here.
We will lead the future for the nation.
All right. One of the tools I'm going to show y'all really quickly is the text tool. So over here in the kind of sandwiched in between your sequence and your project assets over here is a toolbar. You might be familiar with some of the looks of these tools if you use other Adobe programs like Photoshop or InDesign, but there's a type tool. And I'm going to click the type tool. What we're going to do real quickly is we're going to give Dr. Bell a title so people know who he is. Got a nice little lower third. So if I've selected the type tool, what you can do is go up here to this program window and you can just click in there. And I'm going to go ahead and type Dr. Bell's name. Make sure people know who he is. If you want to change the font, you can go up here and highlight it. And there is an effect controls panel in the top left. If you click over to that effect controls panels, you will see a text option here that we've got highlighted. If you scroll that down, you can go in here and change the font. So let's say we changed the font to something that we like there. And now we've given Dr. Bell a title. Now that we've seen that effects control panel as well, if you select any of the footage or any of the clips that are in your sequence, so if you just click on something and highlight it, as I've got a piece of footage down here highlighted, if you highlight a clip in your sequence and you have the effect control open up here, whatever you have highlighted, you have control over with this effect control panel. So a couple of things you can do kind of right off the bat in the effects control panel. You'll see an option for position. So you can move a piece of footage left or right or up and down. There's an option for scale. So if you needed to scale a piece of footage up or down, so zoom it in or out, basically, you can go into this option and scroll it to zoom a piece of footage in if you needed to zoom in on something, or if you needed to shrink a piece of footage, you can go the opposite way and shrink the footage. There's an option for rotation, so if you wanted to get real funky and start to spin the footage or flip it completely upside down, this is the good if you shoot something and you shot it slightly off center or at an angle that you don't really like, you bring it into Premiere and it's a little crooked, you can do some kind of fine adjustments with the rotation to sort of correct if you shot something slightly off center. That's a good way to use that rotation tool. But these are just some easy ways that you can change the footage right away by just highlighting it in your sequence and then using the effect control panel to make these adjustments to the footage depending on what you want to do. Couple other things I'm going to show you really quickly. Adjusting the volume of something. So Dr. Bell's soundbite
future
here.
for the nation, and folks, it is.
If we wanted to make him sound, a little bit quieter, if his volume's a little too loud, you can right click down here on the audio, and there's an option for audio gain here, and it'll give you adjust the gain by. You can make him louder if you type in a positive number. So let's say 10, it'll adjust the gain. It'll make him 10 decibels louder. You hit OK, you'll notice down here that the audio waveforms have increased in size, so they look a little bit beefier now. You can also go the opposite way if you needed to make Dr. Bell a little bit quieter. Say his podium audio is a little bit too loud. You can use that same audio gain option and put in a negative, so a minus however many decibels you want to lower his audio. So we'll do 10. We'll go the opposite way, so adjust gain by -10. Hit OK, and now you'll see that those waveforms have shrunk, so they're a lot smaller, and that basically just shows that we've taken the audio the other way and made his audio a lot quieter. And I think I'm out of time. If anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, Teams me. I don't want to go too far past my time, but yeah, Premiere is a great program with a lot of different tools and things that you can do. It's great to just mess around and kind of learn on the fly. The best way to learn is by doing. So use some of the sample media and go into Premiere and just click around.